Man, Quinn, everyone's been complaining about the draft. I've heard it from everyone. They're just complaining and complaining about the draft. And I just never understood it. You could just close your window. You heard that right. It's a draft joke, which means it is NFL draft week. Welcome to the DQ Frenzy, a very special week for this episode. As always, Dylan Shields and my co-host Quinn Schmiedel are here to discuss the draft. And Quinn, you got a little bit of merch for those who are just listening to the episode. You want to show off your merch you got?
Yeah, I got the not the second part. The Jalen Hurts Super Bowl jersey. It has a little patch on it. Only so many of these guys made. My brother got it for me for my birthday a while back. So, yeah, really repping the Eagles here. Perfect for the draft night. And to remind you who your Super Bowl champions are. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm wearing a Roma soccer jersey. I have no idea who this player is. I've never heard of them. I just got it a while ago. It's becoming a medium now at this point, but I still like to show it off because why not? I'm into soccer, but that's not the sport we're talking about. It's football, the real football, and it is draft week. And Quinn and I are going to have a full mock draft to do for you guys. We'll each go over a couple picks each as we're doing them and discuss and analyze what we think's going to happen. Now, it's kind of been, Quinn, a little bit of one of the quieter years in terms of, I'd say, draft hype. There's always rumors out there that we'll talk about, but it's kind of just been on kind of one of the more low-key drafts hype that I've seen. But before we get into our mock drafts, I saw a very good article here that inspired me to do this segment, and it's called Buy or Sell, with all the rumors that we have that could potentially happen in the first round of the draft. And shout out to our hero, Tom Grassi, one of Quinn and I's favorite YouTubers. He's going to be announcing a pick.
Woo!
And since the draft the draft's in Green Bay, he's moving there soon. So good for him. Proud of him. I've seen there's been a ton of YouTubers that have been able to do the draft. So my dream of urinating tree announcing the pick next year because it's in Pittsburgh could possibly happen. Or you can invite me. You can invite me to do it.
Yeah, I'll come over. I'll drive over to Pittsburgh too. We'll have a DQ pick.
DQ pick. I'll get cheered and you'll get booed. It'll work out perfect. I'll be the hometown hero. You'll be the hated villain.
I'll wear this jersey.
I'll wear this jersey. No. They'll be like, what the hell are you wearing? But anyway, let's get into buy or sell. And this is, I think, the perennial. This is kind of the big rumor that's coming along. Probably the biggest name in terms of where will he be picked, and that's Shedeur Sanders, Quinn. And this big rumor is that he is going to fall late in the first round, possibly the 20s, where a team like maybe Pittsburgh could slide in and get him. Now, the article, the guy who wrote it said it's a sell. He doesn't believe it. But Quinn, do you believe in that Shedeur will fall late? It's a little bit of a spoiler. Do you buy it or do you sell that rumor?
I would buy it. I wouldn't buy, like, if the stock market got a crap ton of stocks in it, but I'd probably buy a few. I think it's a realistic option. I think it's just dependent on what the Giants do. The Giants aren't known to be the smartest franchise with drafting the past few years, I should say. But I think it's an entirely realistic possibility. I think I wouldn't be greatly surprised if the Steelers ended up with him. I mean, in that case, I think it'd be kind of nice. I think it'd be interesting. Dylan and I talked about this briefly before. I've heard that the Steelers are looking to draft a quarterback next year because they'll have more draft picks. They can move up more so. Maybe if they just have Rudolph or something, they can tank more, get a better pick, trade up, or have less of a way to trade up. But so I don't know if that'd be the best option, but I'm getting off track. But I would buy this stock. If I woke up, if I didn't watch the draft, I woke up the next day and they told me, oh, Sanders slid and he's with the Steelers, I go, oh, okay, that's cool. They have a quarterback. That's interesting, but I wouldn't be like, what? Like, huh?
I said a couple episodes back that I kind of want the Steelers to stick with Rudolph, and hate to say the word tank, but it's one of those where like if
Tank,
Rudolph does
tank, tank.
if Rudolph somehow exceeds expectations, good for us because our expectations won't be high with him. If we're not good and we could finally be terrible enough to get a good pick next year, that quarterback class is
Rebuild.
so much deeper. We don't need to like try to go for Arch Manning or anything like that. There's plenty of other a plethora of quarterbacks next year that I think
But
are
why
a
not?
lot better. But the problem is, it's a severe need this year because Aaron Rodgers can't make a damn decision because he needs that spotlight. He's a spotlight junkie. He just needs all that attention. Oh, the Pat McAfee show. I'm sick of it. But this night's not about him. I got to stop feeding his ego. I need to just kill it and ruin it by not talking about him.
I hope
But
he is watching. Hi, Aaron.
but in terms of this, I'd buy it too. It just seems like every week that passes by, it seems like teams are believing less in him. Like he's kind of just a safe option at best in terms of a quarterback, the type of quarterback he is. He's a pocket passer, doesn't move around a lot, has an okay arm, but not as good as a guy like Cam Ward. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people maybe even prefer Dart over Sanders. Honestly, I mean, Sanders is probably still the consensus QB2, but it might maybe him and Dart are closer than we think. Possibly, who knows? The fact
It's
that
all the
Shitter's fallen
smoke
that bad.
screens. We don't know what is happening. Maybe Sanders, yeah, maybe Shooter will go third or something, or second to the Browns. Who knows?
It's unpredictable. You're never gonna know till it actually happens. It's just like Quinn said, a bunch of smoke and mirrors, and guys like Rich Eisen to tell you what he's heard from people, but not sure if it's true or not. But the next topic I got for buy or sell is a team will trade back into the first round for a QB. I heavily buy this. I definitely think, especially late in this first round, where there's not a lot of teams after Pittsburgh that are QB heavy, obviously, because when you get later in the first round, there are teams that made the playoffs. So other teams, like possibly like the Saints, or heck, maybe even if the Giants want to go bold, or the Steelers, depending on what they do, or any team that wants to trade. I'm specifically really heavily looking at the Saints possibly to do this and trade for a quarterback because depending on at 9 what they have available, they might not want to reach for someone early and it's a way too high of like a draft stock to pick a guy like that. We'd rather just maybe trade later. I could definitely see something like that happening.
I'm inclined to say not. I would not buy, just because from everything I've heard, this draft doesn't have a lot of great talent in the first round. And I mean, there's been no trades in this draft before the draft, which I think is a record for I don't know how long, but like having no trades is unheard of. And I mean, it makes sense if there's not that much great talent early on or in this first round in this draft, people aren't going to be trading, or teams aren't going to be trading up. And so if I'm maybe Cleveland and I want to take a quarterback second, let's say in the second round, I know no teams in the last like 26 picks on are going to take a quarterback. The only, I think, team that's a threat to take a quarterback in the first round after the beginning teams and the bad teams would maybe be the Rams to have somebody sit behind Stafford. But otherwise, I don't think the quarterbacks didn't go. So unless the Saints are like really antsy, like the Browns are going to jump me and want to trade with like the Eagles or the Chiefs or Bills or something, I don't see that happening. But like I know the Eagles have been mocked to trade up. I think the Ravens have too. The Bills, I don't know if they'd want to move considering they want to get a first round weapon
Well,
and
the
they've
Bills
moved the
love to
past
trade
few.
back. They're in love
Yeah.
with doing that.
Yeah, but it's just like it's tricky. So I don't. Yeah, I think it's less likely to happen, but
Again, it's always a shrug emoji. Who knows?
yeah,
We
who
got
knows?
who knows? We got 2 more here, big ones.
Bring them on.
This one kind of caught me off guard because this literally just kind of surfaced this week, and that's that the Jags will surprise everyone at the 5th pick, and I'll get into more detail. So ESPN reported Monday that Jacksonville could potentially be a quote unquote wild card, and instead of taking like an lineman, like a lot of people think they will, they would rather take someone like Genty or even Ted McMillan at number 5 overall. Really shocking people. I'm kind of who knows back and forth depending on if the Jags really think they're desperate for weapons. But I think as long as one of the better tackles are available, I'm not sold on this at all. Yeah, I sell this. I don't buy it at all because you need to protect the dude that you're paying and you want him to like improve, and he's not going to improve with that O line that was there last year. I mean, he wasn't healthy. He was out for a lot of last year, and even 2 years ago he was hurt a lot. So I think because especially at the top five is chalk, why would Jacksonville try to shock everyone? Maybe Genty because the running back room is weak, but McMillan that high just seems very, very bold. So I sell that idea.
I buy that idea a lot. We'll get into that in
Oh,
the mock draft. But all I'll say is, in terms of weapons, so the running back is Travis Etienne. I think he was considered one of the better running backs, best young running backs, until last year he had a bad year. Tank Bigsby picked up. He had some flashes. He looked like he could be good. And then the wide receivers are Brian Thomas Jr. Good. Yeah, great. Rookie. And then Gabe Davis, Diomi Brown, and then just kind of recedes. They have Brenton Strange as their tight ends. They don't really have any weapons. And like everyone saw what the Bengals did, that they don't have a defense, but their offense is loaded and they can win games. Not last year, but they got to the Super Bowl the other year because of that and not having a great line. I don't really know off the top of my head how good the Jags line is. So, I mean, it would make sense to take a tackle. Building the trenches is good, but I think it might be hard for them to resist taking a star talent and actually get Brian Thomas Jr. is very good. You could say he's a star, but to get like a superstar on your roster for offense to kickstart everything, give Trevor Lawrence a weapon, I think that could be very appealing. And who's the best player available?
I I get that point in a sense, maybe because of the lack of weapons that the Jags have, but I think these receivers and skill positions are very deep into this draft class where I don't think you
That's true.
need to take one that early. Like I said, Genty's the only one I can kind of see, but again, running backs and draft hype kind of fade a little bit. You don't see Genty's very often. Like him, Bijan, and Zeke have probably been like the past three, like highly picked. Maybe you could, I think Saquon was picked high too, but they
Number
come
two.
far and few between. So I think if I'm Jacksonville, I just kind of sell it to me because I think protection's what matters because you want Lawrence to be able to get the ball to his guys. And if you don't, then it just doesn't make any sense if you don't want to protect your franchise quarterback and want him to get out for the season for the second straight year possibly. So the final one here is that Jalen Milroe is QB3. I might sound insane for saying this, Quinn, but I kind of buy it because this Jackson Dart hype came out of nowhere. I mean, he did good at Ole Miss. He did good in college, but for him to all of a sudden be projected into the first round just like that
Smoke
was,
screens.
I know, it was insane. And I think I specifically buy it because I've heard that the Steelers have expressed interest in a guy like Dart because of his mobile abilities. A lot of people are saying if he could be molded right, the next Lamar Jackson. And he does give me Lamar type of vibes with his rushing and the way he throws. He can be kind of an iffy type of thrower of the ball, but he's a very skilled runner. He did a very good job at Alabama. So do I think that Dart, like officially think, oh, Dart's going to be not picked before him? I mean, I'm back and forth on that. I mean, it's still my go to Dart, but I'll buy it in terms of the fact that it's a possibility. I'm not going to eliminate the fact that, oh, he's definitely not QB3. I definitely think it's a possibility that he could go up draft boards and some team will reach for him because QBs like him, I think, are, I'm not going to say better, but like modern NFL teams and the way they play and their style would probably prefer him over a pocket passer like Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I think the Dart thing might be just smokescreen because it, like you said, it just kind of came up out of nowhere, and it feels like very much something. Oh, look, this guy, he's great. Yeah, we're gonna take him. We really like him. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Rams, take him as your backup. Yeah, yeah. And then it's like, bam, ha, we got Milroe. That's who we wanted. Yeah, Yeah, I think to me, this isn't like a super like, oh, exciting, like, yes, definitely buy, or no, definitely sell. I think it's like a, okay, yeah, that's reasonable. I think it's definitely, yeah, with Jackson Dart, like I said, I think that's more of a smokescreen. Milrow, there hasn't been a lot of talk about them, honestly, because it's not like they're like, oh, look, they're so talented, you know. But I think Alabama has a good pedigree of quarterbacks. I mean, yeah, Jalen Hurts and Tua, who went there, and a whole long list of other guys.
Not Mac Jones.
Yeah, forget
He
that
might
one.
be the exception.
Yeah, but overall, Alabama turns out a pretty good quarterback, I'd say. And like you said, he draws the comparisons to Lamar. I even heard a little bit of hype about him, like coming up and like, oh, what quarterback is going to be third? It's like, oh, Dart was kind of consensus with this whole, I'll say, smokescreen kind of thing. But then, I mean, Alabama guy, he's there. He's there. He's kind of in the background, but it kind of feels like a little bit of a, okay, yeah, this guy is good. We like him, but yeah, I think it's reasonable, but not super exciting. Like yes or no.
That's pretty much the QB class. Like, kind of just like,
Meh.
not exciting, but meh. Yeah, meh. Meh at best. But Quid, it's time to stop messing around. Oh, come on, Trent. There we go. Yes. Took too long to cue it, but it is NFL draft time. It is time for our mock drafts. Like I said, we're going to go over 5 picks each. So we're going to start with the top 5, and then we'll analyze everything. So cue the primetime music. I'm going to allow you, Quinn, to be first. What is your top 5 of the 2025 NFL draft from Green Bay, Wisconsin?
All right. So some of these themes, I tried to do what I felt was going to happen. I tried to be a little more interesting because naturally with 32 picks, who's actually going to be accurate or relatively accurate. So I try to have a little bit of fun, a little unrealistic. Yeah, so exactly. So with that, it's going to be perfectly accurate. Anyway, number 1, I'm not going to deviate too much from this. I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders. No, just kidding. Ward. Cam Ward, first overall to the Titans. It's just kind of uniform what's going on. He's arguably better than Shedeur Sanders, and just, yeah, so Cam Ward first. I don't think there's too much to argue about that. Number 2, I'm having the Browns take Travis Hunter. I saw a few people do a mock draft, and I did this before them, and they did the same thing as me. So, damn it, I must have good thoughts. I must be, vibing with those guys. But I think the Browns could use.
Are they chill vibes?
And cold takes.
Yes.
Damn straight. But yeah, Travis Hunter's that's 2-way player. The Browns can use all the help they can get. I think they could use a wide receiver because Jerry Jeudy's good. He came out of nowhere. But they could use another wide receiver or a cornerback. So either way, they can't really go wrong. He's a talented player. He won the Heisman this year, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
So
over Genty.
Yeah. So I think that'd be a good pick for the Browns. Kind of fills in a role. Even if you'd play a little bit of both, can't hurt. Number 3, I didn't think too hard about this. I'm having the Giants take Shedeur Sanders. I mean, they signed Russ to a 1-year deal, and Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal. It sounds like they got guys in that can mentor Sanders, teach him a thing or two about, the league, maturity, and how to be a quarterback, franchise quarterback. And especially Russ being on a 1-year deal. He's the kind of nice mentor guy, I think. But I think he's in there. He'll mentor Sanders. Winston will be a backup option for the 2 years and kind of give him also a little bit of guidance, I think. But I'm pretty happy with that pick. So in my draft, he's not falling. Number 4, I have Abdul Carter going to the Patriots. He's one of the best players. He could go 1 overall, arguably, but the Titans, they need a quarterback. Will Levis would just keep them until next year when they could get number 1 pick again. But yeah, so I have Carter at 4, really talented player. I think the Patriots and Vrabel would love to get a good pass rusher. Vrabel hasn't really had that great star pass rusher that Carter could be. So I think they like that idea, and he's clearly the best option left on the board. Number 5, I have McMillan to the Jags.
Oh my God, no
wide receiver.
way.
I've heard a lot of hype about him. He's been really good. Now, I've heard that him and the second wide receiver out there, or second ranked, Luther Burden, they're both tighter, closer than it's made out to be. But I think the Jaguars here get a really good weapon, boost their offense. If this is a Jamar Chase kind of player, talent-wise, Brian Thomas Jr. also like a one receiver, 2 1s would be dangerous. And it's a winnable division, the Jaguars are in. And if they could get the firepower and scoring, they could do well. But yeah, that's my top 5. A little spice there in the end. But Dylan, what
Ooh, it's not chalk. I respect it. I like it. It's a little bold. It's hard for me with anybody to even say any top 5 could be chalk because it's kind of unpredictable. You really don't know what's going to happen. But
yeah,
I got the same number 1 overall pick as you. Cam Ward's the consensus best QB. Like him and Shedeur comparisons like barely lasted. It kind of just went away, and like, oh, Cam Ward's clearly better, which I believe he is. He's got a talented arm. He's probably the only quarterback in the draft that's starter ready, starter immediately ready, and even it's kind of a stretch because that's how weak the QB class is. But if I were to go anyone, I would say him. And the Titans, they still might not be good just because. I mean, it's a young rookie quarterback. The weapons around them aren't that inspiring, but just to get him some repetition and just like get him to start and get his reps in and improve. He's definitely going to Tennessee, no doubt. Quinn, this is probably my most controversial pick. But It's weird because you and I said, oh, there's a possibility Shedeur might fall. And this will whatever happens to him affects this draft drastically. But I think Cleveland's going to take Shedeur Sanders. I think all these rumors that he's going to fall are going to be BS, and he's going to go to Cleveland, which I know just despicts, or whatever the term is. It just contradicts every rumor that's like, oh, Shadeur's falling. Cleveland doesn't like him. Nobody likes Shedeur Sanders. Because if the Browns don't pick him, I understand that there's more sexy options in Hunter and Carter. But that QB room, the quarterback is the most important position in football. And if you're going to sit here and look me in the eye and tell me Kenny Pickett is going to be your starter next year in this AFC North, you are full of it. And Joe Flacco, who had, yes, a good year a couple years ago, but it was, to me, I'm sorry, it was a bit fluky. I mean, he hasn't gotten any younger. He's older now. He's meant to be a backup for a reason.
Joe Flacco hater.
Unless, hey, I'm a Steeler fan, and I've been rivals with him forever. But yeah, I think Shadeur's going to go here. And that doesn't mean he has to start right away. Maybe Kenny or somehow Flacco will start. And Flacco could be a good mentor to him, but I just think it makes no sense if the Browns either try to pick a QB later, but then completely pass on a guy like Sanders, or just not pick one at all and maybe tank it, I guess. But they've been tanking for years. They've only had a couple good years over the past 20 years. They got rid of Baker, which might have been one of their bigger mistakes, and obviously the Deshaun deal will go down in history. So, yeah, if I'm Cleveland, I just take the reach on Shedeur. I understand the talent in Hunter's there, but also, too, do you want to deal with that baggage of, oh, I want to play both positions or I'm going to retire? I don't know about that. So, yeah, I'm going to go Shedeur. At number 3, though, I got the Giants taking Travis Hunter because, man, him alongside Malik Neighbors and then him on defense with a pretty underrated group sounds pretty good to me. I think the Giants can't pass on this. You had them picking Shedeur. I think with this Russ and Jameis signing, I don't think that means they're not going to pick a QB at all, but I do think that eliminates them from picking one this early. With these options that you have, I think Hunter could be just a great piece to the Giants. It definitely help. I'm assuming Russ is probably going to be the starter. It'll definitely be a good weapon for him. It'll put the pressure off of Neighbors to have to do everything himself. And it would be an intriguing option for the Giants. So I'm going to go with him as the third pick to them. And that means the Patriots, they can't pass on Carter. I think that is a perfect fit for that defense. And like you said, Quinn, Mike Vrabel needs kind of a star guy in terms of the pass rush. They got us really good corner in the draft a couple years ago, that Gonzalez, that's thrived a lot, but they need more. So I think Carter will be a good piece to that defense. And while the Patriots do desperately need O-line badly, you can't pass up on a generational edge rusher. I think he might wreak havoc in the NFC West. So look out for him to the Pats. The Jags, this is probably one of the only like chalk picks besides Cam Ward in the top 5, but I have Mason Graham out of Michigan going to them because their defensive line was a mess last year. They barely had anybody at all. They were one of the worst rushing defenses in football. And I think the offensive line and weapons picks are kind of stacked this year in terms of the later picks. So I think getting a guy like Mason Graham, who had a tremendous year at Michigan and it can be very lethal in that defense, I think would be a great fit for Jacksonville. So, yeah, there's our top 5 there. I like that we were different. Carter was the only same pick. So,
yeah,
we'll have to see who's right. Maybe shout out in the comments who you think's more right. But, Quinn, time to move on to 6 through 10. Go ahead.
All right, so 6 with the Raiders. I'm taking the layup. I'm taking Ashton Genty. I'm not going to overthink it. It's the fun pick. Their wide receiver room, I mean, they could roll with Raheem Mostert, but it'd be a lot more exciting if they took Genty. And Pete Carroll likes his running backs. I think he'd fit in with there well. And so, yeah, not overthinking it. Genty, fun pick. Number 7, this is where I have Mason Graham going to the Jets. Their defense was phenomenal and then dropped off last year. Pass rushers are great. We'll see if the Eagles' domination of the Chiefs in the trenches will inspire a lot of teams to take defensive and offensive linemen, considering, like, okay, so you beat the Chiefs by rushing the passer like really well. So if we can rush a passer, then we can win more games. So I think the Jets go and take a defensive lineman here. They can use it. Panthers also. Same trend, taking defensive lineman Walter Nolan from Mississippi. The Panthers have a few needs. I don't know if they really need another offensive weapon right now. It wouldn't hurt, but like you said, it's a deep draft for that. They could take a tackle, but defensive line, I mean, they lost Brian Burns. They probably missed him a bit. I think, again, Eagles dominated with defensive line. Why can't we? Anyway, number 9, I have the Saints. Saints are kind of tricky because they're kind of just screwed. They just need to take the best player available. So I had them taking Malachi Starks out of Georgia, safety. I mean, their head coach was just the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, Kellen Moore. He saw how those Georgia Bulldogs played, even though he was offensive coordinator. And I think he sees, well, who's the best player left? Oh, we have this kid from Georgia. Let's take him. It's turned out well for the Eagles. Why not us? That's just the theme for my 6 through 10 picks, by the way, I guess. But why not us? And then number 10, I have Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall to the Bears. The Bears, they had a very good offseason. I think their offensive line is pretty good. They don't really need to address that. Weapons are pretty good as well. Otherwise, it's just the defense. And I think edge rusher would be good here. I wouldn't really say any of the cornerbacks would fall great up here, but that's just me. Another edge, but yeah, a lot of all defense really, except Ashton Genty.
Yeah, it's the draft of the defense and specifically edge rushers, I think, that's pretty stacked in this first round. I got Genty too going the Raiders. I think that's kind of the obvious pick. You cannot have injury-prone Raheem Mostert be your running back 1. I'm sorry. After what you saw last year, you have to go bold. You have to pick Genty. I mean, he was a Heisman finalist for a reason. I know people might be like, oh, the conference he was in was weak, but it doesn't really matter when you have a chance for a team like the Raiders that are in desperate need of weapons to get Genty. I feel like with him Gino, and Bowers. I feel like that's a pretty good trio right there. And yes, receivers they'll probably address later, but yeah, I think Genty's the right pick here for the Raiders. I don't see him fall into another team that needs one. The Jets, I got them picking another tackle. I got them picking Will Campbell out of LSU. I think he's the best tackle in the draft to me, especially in the SEC. I think he was kind of criticized for having like small arms. I'm pretty sure everyone was kind of like
every year
there's
poor tackle.
Something about like physiques or whatever is always made fun of. I do not care that he's got short dinosaur-like arms, because when you dominate in the SEC, you're good in my book, and he was very dominant at LSU. So I'm going to say the Jets. I know they picked the guy from Penn State last year who was kind of up and down, but I just think they, especially for a guy like Fields who loves to run, you kind of need a tackle. And LSU has had a lot of quarterbacks, and Campbell's played with a lot of QBs that like to move on the run. I'm pretty sure he played with Jaden Daniels, if I'm served correctly. I'm pretty sure for 1 year he did. Sorry if I'm wrong, because I definitely did my research, but he has experience with mobile quarterbacks, so I think he's a good fit there. At number 8, Quinn, I got another edge rusher here. I got Jalen Walker from Georgia. Georgia's got a ton of defensive players, as per usual in this draft, that love to go to usually your team. But I got Walker here going to Georgia just because Carolina's defense has been so miserable every year. You need to start with, especially a pass rusher, I think could really help. I don't think there's good enough corners this early for them to take, which they also kind of need some secondary help. But I think you start with Walker. I think besides Carter, he's the consensus best rusher. And again, SEC, he dominated. So take advantage of those Georgia defenders. The Saints is so tricky, man, because that Derek Carr injury just changed everything in terms of how they're going to draft. And if Shadur somehow falls and Quinn and I are wrong, that could possibly be where he lands. But since we don't have that, since I don't have that, I'm going to say this is where McMillan goes to. I'm going to say McMillan goes to the Saints because wide receiver wise, it hasn't really been there. I mean, Olave's good, but he can't stay healthy. He's not consistently healthy enough. And besides that, and yes, Kamara, who's consistent, but again, he's not getting any younger. I feel like the Saints are in desperate need of weapons, and I feel like a guy like McMillan can help with that. I feel like they're a team that should fix their QB situation a little bit later. I don't think, if Shadur's available, like I said, probably most likely, I think could possibly land in New Orleans. But since I don't think that's happening, I think they can wait a little bit longer and, get a weapon at least for help. But Quinn, we got the same pick at number 10. I got Mike Green from Marshall. I think he's very underrated. Again, a school like Marshall might scare some teams, but I think a lot of people like him over some other edge rushers that are coming a bit later. And Josh Sweat needs help. I saw some statistics from the Bears, like pass rush, and Sweat was literally the only rusher on that defense that did a lick of anything last year. Everybody else was terrible and struggled. And like you acknowledged, Quinn, they addressed their offensive issues. They got a lot of offensive linemen. They got some weapons as well. And pretty much the only thing you have to improve is your defense at this point. And get a complimentary guy for Sweat, I think will definitely help. And you kind of just run it back. See if Caleb Williams can bounce back from his struggling rookie year and see what the Bears can do.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we agree on something. But let's
on two picks.
Disagree less because it's more fun that way. So then number 11 with the San Francisco 49ers. Sorry, I mean Niners.
Niners.
Niners. I have them taking Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU. And they got to protect Brock Purdy. I know their defense was looked at each other, blink, and just ran off in 5 different directions this offseason. But, I mean, you got to protect your quarterback, especially if you're going to pay him. If they're going to pay him, I don't know. But, yeah, a tackle's never a bad option. Number 12, the Dallas Cowboys. Interesting pick, right? I'm having them take Luther Burden III. maybe a little high, but a flashy wide receiver complement CD Lamb seems like something Dallas would do. Like, ooh, look, we got a star player right here. Don't ask me what that accent was. I don't know. Number 13, I have another Missouri player, Ardman Membu, tackle. Apologies for the name pronunciation. I'm bad at pronouncing names. But the Dolphins need help at tackle. Tua needs to not get concussed every 2 seconds, although half of that is his fault, running off and just headbutting some dude. I don't know, man, but at least he can stop him from being tackled and sacked horribly in the end, or in the pocket. So, yeah, I have him taking tackle. Number 14, I'm not thinking too hard about this. This has been consensus for a while. Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State, going to the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts need a tight end, and Tyler Warren needs a team because he's good, and so the Colts are going to take him. Number 15, I have the Falcons taking that Georgia player Dylan just mentioned, the linebacker, Jalen Walker. Like you said, he's one of the best pass rushers in the draft. He's technically a linebacker at position, but the Falcons could use help with their defense, and I think this would do a lot of good.
Oh, all right. I like it. So number 11, I also got the Niners taking a tackle, but I got them taking Membu out of Missouri because I feel like he's, again, projected as one of the higher tackles. And if they're going to pay Purdy, you better protect him because he needs it bad. You want to keep your however $1 million they're going to pay him QB healthy. And even though they lost a lot of guys on defense, again, that could be addressed a little bit later in the draft. And they still have weapons on the offensive defensive side, despite what they've lost. And Kyle Shanahan can make a mid-player great. That's just the type of coach he is. But I think tackle's the way to go. The Cowboys, I was so back and forth on this because, Quinn, they love the sexy picks. They love the weapons. I was so back and forth on a receiver. But this is where I have Tyler Warren going. So out of Penn State, the Penn State. Because,
no, can't betray Pennsylvania like that.
Because the Cowboys, I feel like, need some tight end help as well. And because I believe Ferguson's not there anymore. So I feel like you need a guy like Tyler Warren to help Dak out. And I keep saying this with the receivers. There's so many that you could choose from where you don't need to pick one this early at 12. But Warren is such a great talent that he's a guy I think you can't pass up on because tight ends are very limited in drafts like this. And Penn State knows how to build tight ends. I have personal experience. Freiermuth, while maybe not elite tier, he's pretty good. Penn State built him up well. And Warren could potentially probably be better than him. He's probably already a better receiving tight end. He put up pretty good stats at Penn State. He led them to that Final Four last year. So, yeah, I'm going to say Cowboys pick him. I got to tackle Quinn, go to the Dolphins, because if they pick any other position, what are we doing? Kelvin Banks I got out of Texas going to Miami. But honestly, it just needs to be any tackle that's available because we need to not have Tua's brain splattered all over a field on Thursday Night Football again. I never want to see that. So I think this is one of the easier positional type of picks for Miami to just go get a tackle and protect your guy that doesn't want to wear a guard cap for some reason, even though he should. Anyway, Quinn, I got a trade here in this draft. Ooh. Now, if Tyler Warren would have been available, Indy would definitely select it. But because I have him going to Dallas, I think Indy's going to trade down with the Chargers, and they're going to move up to 14, and they're going to get Matthew Golden, the speedster out of Texas, because receivers in the Chargers, man, they've been trying to go for them for a couple of years. And I know it's a little bit bold to do that because of them picking receivers over the past few years, but Quentin Johnston's not working out. And that's the bottom line. He had another really down year. I don't know how long he stays with the Chargers. Now, the guy they picked last year, and I apologize that I forgot his name. Lad McConkey had a really good year out of nowhere, too. I don't think any of us expected McConkey to have the year he had, but he needs some help. And I feel like Matthew Golden, a speedster, a little bit of a different receiver than McConkey. Like, they have similar traits, but also different as well. Like, similar. You could have similar and different styles at the same time. I definitely know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I think Golden to the Texas is a good pick there for the Chargers. And yeah, I think it's a trade that I think is very possible for the Chargers. Because why not? Why not trade up to get a good weapon like that? And a team like Indy, who needs positions, especially tight end, but a lot of people projected them to trade down. So I'm going to go with that. At 15, I got the Falcons doing what they should have done last year, and that's
quarterback
edge rusher. Jalen, no. That would be hilarious if they did that again. But I got Michael Williams, again, out of Georgia. These edge rushers, man, are pretty stacked. Now, like you said, Walker's more the linebacker type of guy, but him and Williams together last year were pretty lethal for Georgia's defense. I mean, their defense carried them into the playoffs last year. Their offense was kind of pedestrian at best, so the defense definitely helped them, and Williams was definitely a key contributor in that. So, yeah, I'm going to say the Falcons make up for last year and get Williams, and they don't pick a quarterback in this round.
All right. Well, I don't think we agreed on any picks there, but we did agree on tackle for the Niners and Dolphins. So, makes sense. Number 16, I had the Cardinals taking Jahad Barron. First cornerback off the board out of Texas. They could use cornerback help. They're not too bad overall, but I think this is appropriate time for a quarterback come off the board, and arguably the best quarterback of the class going to the Cardinals. Pretty legit, in my opinion. Number 17, I have the Cincinnati Bengals taking Will Johnson, another cornerback out of Michigan this time. Will this start the run of cornerbacks like we had the other year? Probably not. No. But, yeah, no, it won't. But anyway, number 18, Seahawks select Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State. They need offensive line. So if they choose anything else, they might be a little bit dumb. Anyway, yeah, so tackle
protect your damn quarterbacks.
Yeah, they need to protect their quarterback. Yeah, Bengals, they just need any defensive player that can play decently well, so that's why they take quarterback. 19, I have the Buccaneers taking Donovan out of the edge out of Boston College. His last name starts with the E. Zerua. Again, for pronunciations, I can't do, so apologies if Donovan, you are watching. I don't think you are, but yeah. So the Bucs need an edge rusher. Simple as that. And edge rushers never hurt. And then 20, I have the Broncos, the bucking Denver Broncos, taking Ibuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. They need a wide receiver. Sutton, he's light, but they need a star or at least another wide receiver. So, yeah.
Man, Quinn, I think we got none the same again. We're disagreeing, man, on everything.
Wow, look at us.
That's got to bring up ratings because we got to start fighting over this. But
yeah, percentages of one of us getting our draft right is probably pretty high then, right? We're spreading ourselves out over here.
Probably not. But anyway, I got the Cardinals picking Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Again, a lot of people kind of have him above guys like Williams. So the edge rusher type of rankings is very close. It's just a matter of what style you prefer. I think the thing that scares Stewart is his lack of experience. He only played a year at Texas A&M, and that was really his only solid year because I think he struggled before that previously. But I think a team like the Cardinals could help out with some edge rushers. They got some pass rushers over the years previously, but I think we could. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I'm going to say Stewart goes to Texas A&M and aligns himself with Sweat, and then possibly can make this defensive rush a lot more lethal because the Cardinals are kind of to me. Like, they're not terrible in any category. They're not the top of the top either. So in that case, I think defense definitely can't hurt them. The Bengals, I got them taking Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. He's the only position linebacker that's projected to go in the first round. And Cincy just needs something at defense desperately. And I think linebacker's the biggest one. I think that's a big liability. Their run defense is pretty abysmal. So is their passing defense as well.
Trash.
And oh yeah, all trash.
Bengals,
but
trash.
But again, when you see a college like Alabama, and even though they kind of maybe had a down year overall, Alabama, because of the Saban loss and they didn't make the playoffs and all that, they still have good talent individually. And Campbell's one of the best ones they have. And I think he'll be a good fit for the Cincy in the way they play defense. And I just think it's someone they need. Quinn, I know if Seattle doesn't pick a lineman, they look dumb, but I have them actually picking Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan, because besides offensive linemen, I feel like this is the position that's desperately needed the most because, again, that hyped up defense with their new coach that was supposed to be good was terrible. And their secondary was atrocious. Again, like you see the common theme, like a lot of these teams had struggling secondaries and got burnt last year. And Will Johnson's one of the best corners in this draft, if not the best. And I think he's going to go to Seattle. Tampa Bay, they need a tight end, and I'm going to have them take it Colston Loveland from Michigan. Michigan always seems to they're a very old school run the ball down your throat, have good blocking tight ends, and Loveland's one of them. Also pretty good out of the receiving back as well. And I think we just give Baker one more weapon because his receivers are all set. He's got a very good weapons in Rachaad White and Bucky Irving at the running back position. The defense is it's kind of in the mid tier, but also too they could again pick other positions later in the defensive side. So I'm going to say they get Baker another weapon in Loveland and also to help with the running backs as well with some tight ends. But at number 20, Quinn, I got another trade. This is my last trade of the draft. And guess what? Sean Payton is going to make a deal with the devil with his old team and the Saints and give them a favor and move the Saints to the 20th pick where they pick Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Yes, I have the Saints waiting to pick Dart until 20 and trading to get him because, good God almighty, the Saints quarterback room is a dumpster fire, man. With Carr probably being out for the season and just not a whole lot else to be inspired by. I think the Saints have to go with one, but I don't think at the 9th pick they're going to pick Dart because that would be such a reached way too much to me. So I'm going to say they trade and they're going to give their buddy a call. Sean Payton loves to do favors for his old team sometimes. And I'm going to say that, yeah, the Saints get Jackson Dart and trade with the Broncos because Denver, they did so much in the offseason. There are positions that are at need, running back, that Denver desperately needs. But the running back class is kind of stacked in a lot of these rounds. So, yeah, I'm going to say I think Denver can definitely trade back and be fine and get more picks because they desperately need more picks because of some of these trades that they've been making over the years. The Russ one that have kind of killed their draft stock over the years. So I'm going to say Sean Payton makes a deal with the devil. Jackson Dart, you are a New Orleans Saint. I'm so sorry, buddy.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned running backs because at 21, I have the Steelers taking Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Yeah, the Steelers don't really have a running back. I mean, they got rid of Najee.
Put some respect on Warren's name.
Warren, he's usable. He'll function fine. But to have a talented running back, he's not Genty, but not a lot of classes have a Genty, and Hampton would easily be the number one running back otherwise. And he has been coming up draft boards a bit. Maybe it's smoke. I don't know. But I'm going to buy into it here and have the Steelers take him at 21. It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't in the first round at all or if he was higher. Who knows? But, yeah, I have the Steelers going a little more exciting, doing that, seeing what's going to happen with their offense there. Number 22, I have the Chargers not trading up and taking Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, defensive lineman. Defense wins championships. They do need a wide receiver, but like we've been talking about. It's a deep wide receiver class. They get a few options, and I think this would be a pretty good move here. Just solidify your defensive line. They're getting a little older. They lost Joey Bosa, so defensive talent is needed. Number 23, have the Green Bay mother-loving Packers taking James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. This guy seems like a perfect, like, kind of mid-round, has the talent, not quite as good as some of the other guys, but he definitely has the potential, and he seems to fit well in the Green Bay strategy, which of course means somehow the Lions will take him instead, because the Lions just take everyone the Packers want, and Tom
Grossi's going to cry.
And, yeah, so we'll see about that.
The funniest thing.
Yeah. Anyway, number 24, the purple reincarnations of Satan, as Tom Grossi would say. The Minnesota Vikings are going to take a cornerback here, Trey Amos out of Mississippi. They could certainly use a cornerback. They don't really need offensive weapons at all. They have a quarterback. Their offensive line's, from what I remember, good. And so then you turn over to the defense. What do they need? Cornerback would certainly be nice. Their defense was pretty decent last year. They're surprising and young, but never hurts to add another young cornerback that could be a star. And then number 25, I have the Texans taking Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle out of Texas. You got to protect Stroud. Stroud was not having a great time last year because of the line issue, and you got to give him some time to throw and not get hurt. So Texans make the smart move here.
Well, Quinn, we agree on something because the Steelers are going to pick Amari and Hampton out of North Carolina. Write it in the book right now. Give Quinn and I our checks now because we called it. We're going to call this. I mean, I just don't think reaching for a quarterback, especially if 2 or 3 of them go already, is necessary for Steelers. We said before the show started that the rumors that the Steelers might just wait till next year to possibly pick a quarterback, which I'm absolutely in favor of because I am not inspired by this class in the least. So I would definitely go that route. But running back wise, Warren's good, but he needs a complementary piece. And Kenneth Gainwell sure as hell ain't that. I'm sorry, but Gainwell's a special teams guy, and that's it. He is not a backup running back at all that's effective.
Playoff Kenny was great that 1 year. He gains yards well. You can't ask for a better last name for a running back.
I'm going to kick you off right now. Anyway, Mario and Hampton from North Carolina. I think that's a good fit. I think it's a type of running back, too, that Arthur Smith would like.
Sorry.
So off of that trade from the Chargers, I have the Colts picking Malachi Starks out of Georgia safety because, man, Indy's defense that was kind of like always looked under the radar by fans as underrated. It's really not that anymore. They really struggled last year. I mean, they got blown up by teams like the Giants of all teams that torched them.
Embarrassing.
I think that loss alone and just how struggling that defense was, they need secondary help desperately. And I think, again, Georgia defender, especially a safety in the draft, I think that's a good pick for Indy to do. The Green Bay, not mother-loving Packers, because I refuse to say Tom Grossi's cheesy lines, pick Josh Simmons, offensive tackle off of Ohio State, because we need to protect Jordan Love more because he was kind of beat a little bit under arrest. He wasn't healthy all of this year, and I think that could help Green Bay. I know weapons-wise, I mean, like wide receiver, who knows what the heck that room is? It's a whole bunch of wide receiver. It's a whole bunch of wide receiver 2s, and no one wants to break out and be wide receiver 1. So you can Packers fans maybe want that. They've been desperate to draft receivers for years, but I think it's more important to go get your tackle. They're set at running back with Josh Jacobs. They were a much better defensive team last year. They drastically improved. So I say with all that being fixed, I think you try to protect Jordan Love and try to help him improve. The Vikings, I was back and forth. I wanted to say that nickname, but I'll reserve that to Quinn. No, I won't. I'm not Grossi. but I got them picking Nick Emmanuel out of South Carolina, another safety picked because, again, this defense, especially at the end of the year, struggled. And secondary help, I think Minnesota's kind of needed that for a while in terms of help in the secondary. They could go corner here, but I'm going to go with the safety from South Carolina.
So close. We could have agreed. So close.
Again, consensus, the SEC, man, they developed some good secondary and pass rush. So go and get them while you can. The Texans, they do need O-line help, but I also think their defense kind of needs some help too. So I got them taking the edge out of Boston College. I'm not going to try to say his last name. I'll say Donovan, his first name, out of Boston College. And I think we can improve Houston's defense even more. And like I said, they can get some offensive. They got plenty of picks to get some linemen later. So I'm going to say they go with an edge.
All right. Well, at least we agreed on one pick there. For some continuity. What do you know? We are not totally dissimilar. All right. And we're kind of getting towards the end of the draft, but 26, I have the Rams. And we hinted at this a little bit before. Spoiler alert. I'm having the Rams take Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. Sit behind Matthew Stafford. He was thinking about leaving. He didn't. But he can sit behind Stafford for a few years, learn, and when Stafford gets hurt, he can take over. And I think this is the best way you develop a quarterback behind your veteran. Stafford seems like a great guy. I think he'd be happy to teach Milroe, and he's not scared about his job, I don't think. And he's going to want to retire soon anyway, I would presume. But I think this is a good way to develop a quarterback and set yourself up for the future. Number 27, and like you said, he could be a Lamar Jackson type, but he has a lot of potential. Potentially. All right, number 27, we have Dylan's favorite team. Sorry, Dylan's purple reincarnations of Satan. The Baltimore Ravens. So I have them taking Matthew Golden here. They're like, ooh, wide receiver. Are you good? Yeah. Number 2. It's like, damn it. All right, can you be our number 1 receiver? No, 2. Damn it. So this time they're trying again, and hopefully they can get this wide receiver out of Texas to be their number 1. But it never hurts to have more weapons. Their defense was, I believe, if I remember my stats, they were the worst defense in the whole league until their bye week. After the bye week, they were the best, or one of the best. So it's like, I don't know how that works, but they certainly flipped the script. Usually their defense is pretty good, but no. I was tempted to have them take Loveland here, tight end out of Michigan, but I mean, they have Likely already. That's kind of their star new tight end. But anyway, then I have 28, the Lions taking Jalon Walker. I have them taking Campbell, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. Here, they have a lot of positions covered. I could see them taking defensive lineman or edge, but I don't know. Nothing's great here, I think. It's just Texas A&M players, really. So I'm going to have them take the the Alabama, known Alabama kind of good player. Alabama good. Then number 29, I hinted at this before, but I'm having the Commanders take Colston Loveland, tight end of Michigan. I think this is a nice pick in the sense of they could go defense again, but not really great options. Loveland, I think, is a good bargain here for where they're at, and they can take a guy. They re-signed Ertz to another 1-year deal. He's getting older, though. Loveland could come and learn under him and kind of be their future tight ends. And plus, you can never have too many tight ends. So I think this could be a good way for them to get their future tight end, have him learn behind Ertz, and develop him into the star that hopefully he can be for them. Not my hope, but their hope. And then number 30, I have the Bills going defense here. We talked about this before when we talked about the Bills, and we had Tom on. But I'm going to have them take... Yeah, shut up. I'm going to have them take Nick Scorton here, edge out of Texas A&M defense. Maybe that can help them stop the Chiefs or whoever, but it seems like they don't really need the offensive weapons, but the defense is what continually has failed over the years. So hopefully See, well, oh look, the Eagles beat them with a pass rush. We need a pass rush. Get this guy. Can he sack Mahomes enough? So that's my 30, and we'll hold 31 and 32 for the very end.
Yeah, the two Super Bowl teams and Quinn's favorite teams, for some reason, are the last two picks. Oh, what a dream for him! But yeah, at 26, I've got the Rams taking Jahdae Barron, quarterback out of Texas, because the Rams defense, their pass rush was very good, but their secondary was not so good, and that's why they lost to teams and got torched by teams like Philly in the playoffs and other like very good offensive teams. I mean, I think, yeah, other teams torched them too, but yeah, I'm gonna say they get him out of Texas. He's a pretty good corner, and I think they desperately need, especially like zone defense. I think he could be a good addition for the Rams. The Ravens, I got them taking a receiver too, but it's different. I got them taking Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State because Quinn, that man does not drop passes. I think he only dropped definitely less than 10 out of his college career. He was like the Larry Fitzgerald of college football, where if you got the ball to him, he was going to get it. And I think that's what the Ravens need at receiver. They tried to draft plenty of speedsters over the years, and it hasn't worked out for them. They got Zay Flowers, who's good, but maybe not getting up to wide receiver one potential. So I think Ibuka could be a good guy to complement that. Tight end wise, like you said, I know Andrews is going to be kicking himself for that playoff drop, but he's still serviceable and likely too had a pretty solid year last year in my eyes. So I think they're set there, but I think, yeah, go and try to get a receiver. I think Ibuka is kind of the safer option. Honestly, my personal favorite receiver in the draft. I know he's ranked a little bit lower than some guys like Golden and other receivers, McMillan, but I don't know. For some reason, I like Ibuka's potential a lot. Lions, you mentioned, Quinn, that they could possibly get a defensive tackle, and that's what I got here. I got them taking Kenneth Grant out of Michigan because it's the Michigan product, that good, cold, hard-nosed type of football that they play up there, up in the north. Dan Campbell loves that type of football, and Grant was a very good rusher for Michigan. And, man, the Lions just need depth because, yeah, in terms of, when they're healthy, they're set, but you could tell when literally everyone and their mother got hurt for them last year, it killed them. So I feel like drafting defensive positions, especially a rusher, could definitely help because the rush struggled in the playoffs big time. You could tell the loss of some guys were huge for them. So, yeah, I'm going to say they take Grant. The Commanders, I think they need to pick defense. Their secondary was really bad last year. Daniels kind of had to carry the load, and that offense kind of had to make up for the defensive struggles. They were one of the worst passing defenses in football. So I'm going to say they take Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. Again, maybe not the sexy type of option or college that you would think, but still, he was very good. Again, played in a tough conference and produced very well. And I think that could be a good feast. The Lattimore deal last year that the Commanders had didn't work out the best. I mean, I don't think Lattimore's really in his prime like he used to be with New Orleans. But if you can maybe get him some help with a young guy, maybe that'll definitely improve. And maybe Harrison could possibly guard the wide receiver 1 or 2, depending on what they prefer. But I think we need to give Lattimore some help. So I say Harrison is a good pick. The Buffalo Bills, I agree with you, Quinn, in terms of the position. They need pass rush, but I got Derek Harmon out of Oregon because I feel like that defensive line desperately needs help. It really costed them in these big games, especially against the Chiefs that just couldn't get to Mahomes. And the Chiefs line wasn't even the best either, and Buffalo really couldn't get to Mahomes. I don't think they sacked him once in that game. So I think Harmon's a good pick out of Oregon. They got some pieces like Bosa that could be inspiring for them, but I believe you need to keep going with that pass rush and go with Harmon because the secondary is good. They just need to stay healthy. That's the problem. They never seem to be able to. So I think you go with the pass rusher. I say you go with Harmon out of Oregon. But Quinn, your two favorite teams are up. I'm going to puke in my mouth for saying that, but 31-32, who do you got your teams picking?
Well, the Chiefs need some help on the offensive line. Um, they recently
Bloody hell.
lost Joe Tooney and Jonah Jackson. Sorry, so I'm having them take the tackle Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. Um, it's just really the best tackle left on the board at this point. They need an offensive line. They showed they can win with everything else, but the line is important. Both Super Bowl losses, it's Bucks and Eagles, they got blown up. Mahomes couldn't throw the ball, so they're taking tackle here. They know what success means, and it means an offensive line. And then 32, my Philadelphia Eagles. Woohoo! Eagles, Super Bowl champions. They might trade up. Who knows? I hear how he might be itching to pull his trigger finger and move up in the draft and take Mike Green or something, but because he might fall because of character concerns. Who knows? Not my job. I don't have to worry about actually doing any of that. But I have them taking Shamar Stewart of Texas A&M edge. I think it's really just best player available at this point. Like you said, he played a year, but I think he could do well in the Eagles' defensive line room. And yeah, who doesn't like edge rushers? We really like edge rushers, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, that's my end of my draft.
All right, so the end of mine, I'm similar again with you in positions, but I got the Chiefs going a little more interior on the offensive line because I think that's who they lost, and I think that's what they really need help on the interior. And I got Tyler Booker out of Alabama to help them with that. Again, the SEC produced very good linemen. I mean, Booker did a very good job protecting. He was one of the big reasons why Milroe was able to do what he did and showcase his talent. So Mahomes, you saw, like you said in the Super Bowl, got blown up. Every time the Chiefs have lost in the Super Bowl, it's been because of the O-line, and they are 100% going to address that because they are proof that you do not need star weapons to go to the Super Bowl. As long as you got 15, 87, and that mustache on the field, they're all set. So, and Kelsey apparently is coming back. I know he's declined a lot, but still, that means you probably don't need a tight end either yet. So I'm going to say, yeah, you have to protect your line first. So Tyler Booker's a good pick. But your Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champions, are going to pick Walter Nolan out of Mississippi, who you had really high. I was surprised how high you had him, but he has been projected pretty good. Again, a team like Ole Miss, SEC, and defense is kind of the theme here. But yeah, considering the guys you lost this offseason, especially on the defensive side, I feel like a guy like Nolan could help make up for that and just add to already the lethal defense that Philly has and just continue to improve on it, because last year there were a lot of vets that played for the Eagles. Now, if you get younger, and that could be even scarier of a defense if they could develop them. And Philly's very, like you said, very good at drafting and developing rushers. Still can't get over teams passing on Jalen Carter to let you guys get him. That was highway robbery that he fell
Love
to you.
that. Big fan.
It's just not a big fan, but yeah, I got Nolan falling to to Philly out of Mississippi. I can't talk tonight, but that's going to do it for our mock draft here. We only had, I believe, like 3 of the same picks.
We had Ward, Carter, Genty, Green, and Hampton. 5 picks.
So 5. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's very hard to like get the same. It's a you never know. It's very, very defense heavy. Very defense heavy first round, especially when you go down towards like the second half of the draft. But I guarantee you one of us will be not very correct, but like pretty decent. And one of us, probably me, will be so off it won't even be funny, especially in these later picks where it could get a lot more unpredictable. I have 2 trades. You don't have any trades, but it's hard to predict trades. It's kind of just what I've been seeing out of Pro Football Focus and other rumors that teams that could trade down or trade up. So you never know. But Quinn, What's your hype level for this draft? You pumped up?
We have the 32nd pick. I'm not very excited. Yeah, and then Chiefs have 31 and Packers have 23.
Hey, the draft's in Green Bay.
That's true. I'll probably I don't know. I'll see. I'll try and pay attention to the draft. Although it's a little more difficult to watch. If you have
Mhm.
time, it's nice to listen to it for the maybe first 5 or something, because that's more interesting because you know those names, maybe first 10. But after that, especially because even though the Titans have had all offseason, they'll still take their 10 damn minutes to decide who they're taking at number 1. Even though we all know it's going to be Cam Ward. Watch it.
Can we just say something to the NFL? Can you make these drafts shorter, please, in the first round? Can you not make the first round 5 hours, please?
Yeah, I have a long day on
I
Friday.
do
I'm not
not need to
staying
be.
up.
We do not need to stay up till midnight to see who the Super Bowl champs, who really doesn't matter who they pick because they're fine as a team pick. Like, we don't care. And when there's a trade that happens, it takes even longer for a pick to happen. It'll take almost 20 minutes just for Roger to get up there.
What
I
about
hope
like
he gets
7 minutes?
7. Hell, I would say 5 minutes. Or make it a minute. Make it like fantasy football drafts where it's like a minute 30 seconds. Go go go! You better pick your guy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Geez.
just make it shorter. But like we said at the beginning of the episode, kind of a low key hype for the draft. Like there's players there. I think Shadir is probably the biggest name in terms of like will he, won't he type of guy. And there's a
Definitely.
lot of talent there, like Carter and Hunter and others. But yeah, it's just especially when you get past the top 10,
Even
you
top
just
like 6, honestly.
yeah, you after Genty, you kind of just throw your hands in the air and maybe hope someone reaches to pick a quarterback who doesn't. You hope the Falcon or something happens. But I definitely say if you're like a diehard football fan, still though, check it out. Maybe just don't watch the whole thing. Maybe watch the top 10, then go to bed and then see who everyone else picked. And then maybe watch the second and third round picks because there could be plenty of diamonds in the rough in the later picks here. We just went over the first round, but if we did a mock draft on all 7 rounds,
Oh boy.
we would be dead. We would be half asleep. And
I got
me and Quinn
200.
and you and I were already yawning throughout the episode, so because it's late and it's Quinn's bedtime. But that's gonna do it here for this episode of the DQ Frenzy. Tune in next week where we critique and analyze all the draft picks. Like Quinn said, like his team's really not that crucial of drafts, but for me though, it's pretty crucial. It's pretty big what the Steelers do. So you'll get all our reactions. But for Dylan Shields and Quinn Schmiedel, have a good week, guys. It's draft week. Have fun and stay safe.
Yep, bye guys. Enjoy the draft.